Hello. I always wonder if other people start off their streams in some nice way where they're not checking to make sure the stream is even working. Sorry about that. I need to get better about using the mute button. This is a sweet advertisement for the next Halo. Alright, let's see. Should be working now. You can hear me well? Okay, cool. Welcome to the 6th installment of making a game in Corona SDK. If you are new to the series, you can go to TylerMakes.com and check out the past episodes on YouTube. There's a link here. It's the easiest way to get to it. This is the 6th episode. And if you don't know, the code is also available here on GitHub. You can just go to github.com/TylerMakes, and it's the only repo I have currently. It's named Bulbasaur because I believe firmly in naming your development products something that you can never release. And if you go and clone it, you can get the tags which correspond to each stream, so you can see where the code was at each stream. So check that out. And this is where we're at. So we've got a garden wherein we can plant various fruits, and they have a certain amount of time that they grow until they are harvestable. We grab our shovel and go and harvest them, and then we get them back. Oh yeah, I don't know why I'm clicking. I can just hold down. Anyway, so that's that, and then we go to our home. We can talk to our grandma here, and we got this cool RPG type text that we can click to jump to the end, or click again to move on to the next thing. And today we're going to work on the third and final major part of the app, which is a map that you are going to traverse in 2D. And we're going to start with the garden, because if you are observant, you'll notice that we could just as easily we'd easily do a map out of the tools we have here, right? Like, imagine there's a map editor and I'm making walls in a maze. And so we're going to start with this, and we're going to make a maze of sorts. And we're going to make a player character that you are going to use to traverse said maze. So I think what we may do is 2 different types of movement. One type of movement will be clicking on a space and having the character find their way to that space. But before that, we'll probably just do swipe a given direction in order to move in that direction. We'll see how it goes. I'm gonna have to look up AI pathing to be able to, click somewhere and have your character go find their way to it. I'll explain that stuff. Hopefully we can rely on a library. Otherwise, I could lead you through how to write that. It is not trivial. So we'll see if we can find a library, which is generally good practice. It's easier to start from some kind of base than it is to just go off and write it yourself. But anyway, so first we're going to start by taking this map here of our little garden, and then we're going to make a way to build an actual map And actually, we might get to saving and loading. I don't know. There's a lot to do, and that's where we're gonna be headed today, and probably for the next few streams. We're gonna focus on that, because this portion and this portion are kind of more like the story. They're not necessarily the action of the game. So we're going to focus on this other part until we have it. So I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants. So there's a lot that's undecided yet, but we'll get there. Okay, the first thing I'm doing, which you can't see because I'm doing it in a different window, is duplicating our map. And I'm going to make it so that we have this other map. One second. Sorry. Okay, so we're going to make this, and we're going to call this forest map, and that has to do with what it is in the game. It is a forest, so that will be something that I will actually have some clue of what it is. So we're going to start there. So we call this bulb UI. It's unfortunate that I didn't name these more explicitly, because we're going to have a different UI when you're in the forest, I think. Are we? No, maybe we're not. So actually we're gonna have the forest map, but actually before that we are going to make the map builder. And so we're gonna need a map builder UI as well. So for starters, we're basically, I think we're going to make this, oh shoot, what do we call the other one? Builder UI, where's the builder? So yeah, let's call it builder map instead of map builder. Just so that they're sorted next to each other. So the plan with this is that we are going to build the maps manually. Eventually, I think that we might move to doing some procedurally generated maps. I'm not quite sure yet, or we might do a mixture of the two, but for now it's going to start with actually manually building it. And so that's what we're going to focus on first, is we're going to manually build maps. And then I'll probably try to do some kind of saving, loading, etc. Just so that we have like our map builder all done before we move on to like actually traversing the map. Because the map builder is actually going to be pretty simple, but we'll see how it goes. Let's start by going into this forest map. We're going to comment out everything. Because we're using classes, these are actually named the same. We need to go back and change them to, you know, the forest map or whatever, but for now I'm going to get rid of all this so that there's nothing conflicting with other code in the application. And then we're going to do the same for this, and then we are going to slowly uncomment this stuff out and build it piece by piece. So I hope you are excited to do that. I'm going to leave that stuff in there because we actually need that. Okay, so we've got our builder map. We've got to have our builder UI. Okay, and we're going to need a scene as well. Let's see. What is in our game scene and what is in our... That is the game. Oh yeah, and then we have the home. Okay, cool. So we're gonna make an editor or builder scene. And this is from which we are going to do our building. Yeah, so we're also gonna duplicate this game here and make a builder class, which is gonna manage just all the building stuff, and like including the map. This might be from the place where we do our saving and loading code and all that stuff. Okay, cool. So we have all that in place. Let's get to building it. So here is our builder scene. Let's call it builder scene. And let's switch this out to builder. We're just going to change all these instances of game to builder. There we go. And bulk game becomes bulk builder. Cool. And this is pretty much going to be the same. It's going to get the width, the height. Anything else there? Storyboard, yeah, for navigation. That's great. Cool. Nothing else really changes here. Save that. We're going to go to the map. Well, we'll get to that. I don't want to do it just yet because it's going to rebuild automatically. And then it'll break. So let's not do that. So let's make our builder. We are going to use the builder map and the builder UI. And there will be no player. So we'll go ahead and get rid of that. What else we got? Okay, so we can get rid of the player for now. And we can leave this, we call this builder map, but we can leave the map here. We'll get rid of this stuff. We'll leave that home, will take us home. Just hope that we don't click it. Okay, cool. So this is gonna be builder. Gotta change all the names, of course. Gotta do that one. Trying to see, so we're gonna go ahead and change all the names, but I'm gonna comment out the ones that we're not actually going to use just yet. Yeah, let's get rid of player here. And we're going to comment out all this stuff in between. So you should often try to reuse code if you can. As you become a more regular developer, you know, it's pretty normal to build up a code library that you use for everything. It's just your own kind of personal library of code. Sorry, I have to plug in a machine here. Yeah, so you want a library of all the code that you use. As you saw when I first started this application, I did a lot of pulling from a previous project I did, and you'll get used to this. So the smart thing is to build your code in such a way that it's reusable. You know, if this were really reusable, we would have a map that we could just use without altering this stuff here. But the map is going to have a lot of specialized functionality. So we're just going to copy and paste the code. So not maybe the best habit, but it works. Okay, so that's a lot of the basis for that. The builder map has been renamed. It's going to need a create, otherwise it's going to blow up on us. It's going to have tiles, so hopefully we're going to be able to reuse these tiles. We'll see if that ends up being true, we may have to make a separate special tile. We shall see what happens. Okay, so got that bold. Oh, yep. Let's make sure we rename this correctly. Like I said, let's go ahead and just do it in the entire file. Better way to do this is probably find and replace. Sometimes I like to do things manually. It's very therapeutic. Okay, so we got our builder. It's getting created. Got our builder creation. We have enter frame. We have to enter frame. Oh, that does a self update, which does a map update. Let's just comment this out for a moment. Builder. It creates a map. The map doesn't even need the create function yet, which is fine. Ooh, I like half uncommented this. Oh, there we go. That's fine though, we can leave that there. And it has a UI, which needs to become the builder UI. Let's take a look at the builder UI. Okay, put that there. And put it here. We're gonna just call this and not have it do anything just yet. There we go. And now we're gonna make it so that the app, when it opens up, goes straight to that scene. And then we're gonna find out what we broke. There we go. Cool. So in builder line 29, it's trying to add an event listener. Okay, cool. We're gonna want sort of these event listeners. We're gonna comment them out for right now. Let's just get it building without errors. Okay, great. Okay, now we're gonna go through the process we did before. It's gonna be a lot faster because we're just gonna be uncommenting code instead of writing code. So let's see this map. So first we want to create the map. And let's see how that blows up. Okay, cool. So we've got our map. That's good. It's made with those ugly brown tiles. That's totally fine. And the next thing, sorry, I just want to check why I'm suddenly getting all kinds of emails. I hate when you get these messages that people you follow are retweeting something. Because you're like, oh, something I did is retweeted. But it's like, no, you're getting a retweet of something else random. Because they retweeted. Anyway, sorry, enough complaining about Twitter. let's move on. Okay, so got our interface. That's great. Next, let's get our UI back. Let's go open our UI. I'm also gonna close these. I like to have an uncrowded interface. Okay, so we're going to do this. Oh, it needed the player to know how much stuff you had. There's no concept of player right now, so I'm gonna get rid of that. Got rid of that. That's great. Save this. What is navigation? I have no idea. Oh, it's the second thing. What is that? Oh, okay. It's adding this. Yeah, that's right. That's our navigation tile. That's fine. Cool. So let's get our crate back. Can Get rid of player because there's no player. And this isn't going to have the concept of... interesting. So what we're going to want is a list of tiles that we're going to add. So we're not going to have tools per se, but we will have tools. We will have like a... maybe an undo tool. I don't know if we're going to go ahead and add that or anything. So for now, we're just going to get rid of this shovel. And we're going to leave the tools and the items as they are. Let's see what this looks like. Is it broken? Cool. Or is it broken? Line 33, player item bag. We have no player item bag. Okay, cool. Let's see. How do we want to manage this? Well, this is a builder, so this is actually just going to have all of our options here, which I think it'll be fine for now. Let's actually make a class for that. That might be a good idea. Let's go ahead and create a new one. Let's look at game settings. We're going to steal this. This will be a basis. These helpful functions, even though we're not going to use them exactly. Let's just go ahead and copy this over. Close that. Okay, here we go. We're going to call this build settings. Okay, so things that are in the forest. So one of the things is that you are going to have seeds. Interesting. I wonder... So I like the idea initially of seeds being something that you do not know what they are. They're just a seed. The seed could be anything. It's seed of any type. We'll see. Let me think. What we want are trees, of course. Seeds. We're going to do enemy 1 and enemy 2. At some point we're going to get to putting enemies in here. Let's put a river. And is there anything else that we want to put in here? So the idea is that you're going to be going through a forest, and you're going to be... Oh, you know what? We're going to call this tree 1. Let's make a tree 2. You're going to be going through a forest, and so this stuff is going to affect what you find in the forest. And the idea is that, so I can't show you the game right now, but you have the Farmville type garden. You have your home with your grandparent and your sibling. You are also going to be going into a forest to forage for new seeds. That's going to be a critical part of this game. So that's what we're doing here. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that we want to add, but we can always go do that later. That's why we're setting it up like this. So let's go ahead and get rid of this other garbage. And actually, so you know what? We're going to do these by numbers instead of by name, because I think that's going to be easier. And we're going to find out later if that is true or not. So we're just going to do this. Now, in any other language, we're going to treat this as an array. In any other language with an array, you have a simple function called push to add stuff to it. I don't believe there's anything similar in Lua. Let's double check that really quick. just to make sure that I'm not crazy. Oh, there's table insert. No, that's not what we want. Table insert is at a location, it looks like, I think. Yeah, in a given position. That's not what we would want. We would want just to be able to automatically push it at the end. Oh, this is interesting. So as a note, this is, you can push things into an array, and then this is pushing things at the end of an array. This is how you would do it. You take the length and then you add 1 because you're putting in a specific index. So there's probably, yeah, they're talking about like different performance of the two. Yeah, that's some fun, interesting stuff. If you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of Lua, we're not going to worry about that right now. We're just going to make an array using these IDs, and then we don't have to, well, we're going to go ahead and leave those IDs here since they're already here, although we are going to correct them so that they are all the same. And we'll see what happens. There's no such thing as a cost here. We are going to leave the colors on these. Eventually we'll go and change them. Cool. So these are our types for our, oh yes, we need to save this. So it's going to be our bulb builder settings. As you can see, I changed that from build settings to builder settings because we don't want to say build settings. Build settings is something like we have here, build settings. We don't want to confuse the two. Build settings have to do with when you actually build your app. So to avoid name confusion, we're going to do that. And we'll leave these as types. They're technically our tile types, but we can go ahead and call them types. Cool. And so now, like, if we were going to get by ID, super simple. It's just going to be types, and then you put in, it'll look like this. It would be types ID, right? That's not what we want though. So like if we want to do that, that'll be easy. We won't need this. However, this we're going to change to by name because we want to refer to them by their nice tile names. We want to be able to do that, and this function will do that. And remember, this iterates through the different pairs, and the key is this value, this 1, and the value is this guy, and so that tile name is this, right? So that's what that looks like. There's easier ways, like we don't need the key and the value, so we could just do a normal iterator, but I'm going to go ahead and leave this. Let's go ahead and reuse some code. Yeah, and see, this is the kind that's going to be, so this is going to be our get by ID, like I said. This one is going to be the simplified version where it's like, hey, there's the ID. Anyway, one of the things that's nice is now that we're actually, our IDs are numbers, we're going to be able to just iterate through this without any problem. So that's actually going to simplify some of our UI code, probably. So yeah, this does some fancy key value stuff. Instead, we can just do this. Oh wait, no. 1, 2, D. We're gonna do bulb builder settings dot types. So yeah, it's gonna go through the length of the types. Blah blah blah. Oh, interesting. Let me see something. Lua for loop. Again, I can never remember the strange ways in which Lua works. Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah. See, we want this. For I equals 1, 2. So do it like this. I equals So then that's where our I comes from. This is gonna be great. This is no longer gonna start at 0, so we're gonna need to subtract 1 if we want the same functionality. We're not gonna start this down 2, we're just gonna start it down 1 because we have no tools. And this is gonna be builder settings, get item by name. Do we need the name? No, we're gonna get item by ID, and our ID is I. And we don't want to do a store item. We're gonna need a builder item. Okay, so we're gonna have to go duplicate that one as well. Where is that guy? Store item. Oh, no. What is the key code? There it goes. I really wish there was just a duplicate in the file interface. Builder item. We're gonna call this builder store item in case we call them builder items or something on the map. We'll see what happens with that. Okay, builder store item. Oh, that's not what we wanted. Okay, bulb builder store item. This is effectively going to be the same. Remove self. Okay, so let's get rid of some of this stuff that we don't need. There's no such thing as inventory. So we're gonna get rid of that. Touch, blah, 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 planting function. We're gonna not worry about that. We're just gonna print make sure this works. There's no such thing as updating the inventory because you don't have an inventory of items. Get rid of our inventory view, entirety of our inventory view. Boom, get rid of that. It's always fun to delete code. It's all this junk that you don't need. It's always great. Okay, cool. No inventory. And get rid of it here. Okay, good. Doesn't exist anymore. So let's go ahead and get our builder store item. Bulb builder store tool, not tool. That's not what we want to do. We're going to leave this as a store tool because the store tools are not going to really change in any way. I don't think. Yeah, what do we do with our store tools? I just want to see this real quick. Oh yeah, it has this select tool, which is that. Okay, that might be useful. We're not gonna worry about that right now. Bulb. Builder store item, cool. It's making me think like Bob the Builder, which is very distracting instead of our bulb builder, but anyway. Okay, line 32. Let's see what we broke. Oh yes, this doesn't exist anywhere. We need to add this at the top level. The nice thing about creating a map editor, like I always recommend that you make a map editor because it might be painful at first, but once you've built it, it makes creating new content, editing and altering content way easier. And then you have this cool feature that you can always add in the finished product that allows people to build their own levels. So keep that in mind. All right, cool. Let's go check out the UI. What do we miss here? Line 36. Oh yes, there's no inventory, so we do not need inventory. I should have known. Cut that out. Okay. 37. Oh yes, there is no K items. I equals our new item. We're going to call this builder. There we go. Add it to our items. That all looks good. Hey, there we go. Now we got seeds, a tree, tree 2, blah, blah. I don't know. Okay, cool. So clicking a store item does something. Nothing very interesting yet. Let's continue on our way. So there's no item updating where we're gonna update its inventory. That's not a thing. Yeah, so we are gonna want these adding an event listener and dispatching an event listener. Planting function. Okay, so this is when you select a plant, which is actually going to be selecting a tile. So we're going to call this tile placing function. We're going to call this, actually we're going to call it, to make this a little more consistent, placing tile function. Nope, that's not how you spell tile. Placing tile function. Placing tile event. Place. We're gonna call select tile item dispatch event. Great. All of these need to become bulb builder UI. This is one of those things that I screw up fairly regularly, where you're gonna want to rename all this stuff. And I often forget to rename class names when I reuse stuff. So don't be like me, do it right. Remember to rename everything when you make changes. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Placing your tile, selecting your tool. I think we're gonna need all this. It'll be great. Well, let's go look at our store item. Now this was calling planting function. It's no longer. It's going to call placing tile function. And get rid of that. Touch event. Okay, I think that'll be good. Because we're passing the item, that's what we need, right? Yes. And it does item type, which dispatches our event. And now that we have that, we can do this. This is going to be select tile instead of plant. Let's go ahead and add these back. Those are going to get much more complicated. Instinctually I want to save, but I don't want it to blow up again. So we're going to call this placing. Selected tile. Selecting a tile worked. It's great. Oh yes, so we're not, oh yeah, this is, if we remember the event structure we set up, this needs to be named the same as that. Ooh, which is gonna get interesting. So if you notice, this is select tile, and we also did that for the map. That's why we have a select tile here. So instead, actually, we're gonna leave that. We're gonna change this one to place tile. Place tile. That might come back to bite us, but let's hope not. We will get to that soon, so we can get rid of this guy for now. And let's take a little closer look at this. When you select a tool, if the type is home, it does that. Otherwise, it does this tool. Cool. That should all be fine. So let's save and see what's going on. Let's see if we can go home. Hey, we can go home. Nice. Okay. Now let's click seeds. Okay, something's wrong here. Our builder UI. Let's go see what we did there. Mine was at 52. Is that, oh, did I get rid of the events? No, I didn't get rid of the events. What are we missing here? Index local data. Builder 52. Data. Dispatch event. Okay, so something went wrong with this. Ah, that's probably what it is. You rename an event, rename it everywhere. It's good practice. Hey, selecting the tile worked. Good to know it worked. Okay, so let's go add it to the map. So now we gotta go look at our map where we're adding an event listener. So we're gonna need back our add event listeners. I'm not seeing here. Here we go. Add event, dispatch event. Great. And remove self. Probably want that guy back as well. For starters. Okay, so if we have a touch event, we're going to touch the self, which is here. I'm going to undo this update event. There is not going to be an update, like, so for now I'm just going to comment this out because there's no reason to update the tiles, but I just wanted that to be there so we know it exists. This is planting, which we're no longer doing. We're going to call this place tile. Okay, so where do we call our can plant? Oh, here we go. So yeah, we're bringing this back, which means we're bringing this place tile back. And we're going to say if our state is placing, because that's what it is now. It's great. We don't have to check inventory, so that doesn't matter. And can plant, we actually don't have to check that either because there's no such thing as can plant yet. So for now, you can place a tile anywhere of any kind. We may want to change this eventually later, but for now I'm just gonna get rid of it because like I can't see a use case for it just yet where, you know, like it's user error. If we eventually open this up to actual users playing around with the map, then we might want to make some error checking to keep them from planting in the wrong place or something, doing something really stupid. So that's fine. We're not gonna worry about that yet though. So we're gonna add our placing tile. Place, let's call it place tile, not placing tile. That's probably better. And we want our selected tile. It's no longer a selected plant. The name remains the same, and we don't have to deduct anything because we have no player to deduct from. And the tooling is all about harvesting, but we are not harvesting. That's not a thing, so we can get rid of that. Let's get rid of our can harvest. Get rid of our can plant. Let's get rid of our harvest. It's not doing that either. I don't remember what is new grid touch does. Oh, this is for moving to different tiles and stuff. I don't think we're gonna use that. Because it's fine. If you place something where you're already sending, it's gonna be the same thing that you just placed, so it's not like it's gonna be a big deal. I don't know if that made any sense, but anyway, like I think there's a lot of stuff that we don't need. If you've been following along, then you know what all these functions were for, and you know that some of them are no longer relevant. Okay, so yeah, see, here is the thing. So if we've begun or we've moved, actually, you know, we're gonna bring back. And the reason for this is simple. Like, I don't want to refactor some of this code because it might be useful in the future. And all this does is say, like, hey, if you haven't gone to a new place, don't dispatch this event again, which is just a little good extra code that makes it so that if I go along here and, oh, yeah, we got an error, but whatever. If I go along here and I start drawing a bunch of squares, it just means that we don't keep firing an event every time it moves when you're not even on a new space. And then it also keeps track of where we last touched, which could be useful for something. I don't know yet. We're going to find out. So that dispatches the select tile, which we changed to place tile. So we're going to change that to this. So remember what's happening here is that we have an event listener on touch. It does place tile, which triggers an event up here in the builder to place the tile. Now, then all that does is call back into the map to place the tile. We could do this all in the map. However, this little bit gives us the ability to do some extra like logic in the builder. And then if we decide based on that logic that we don't want to place the tile, we don't place the tile. So this could be something that could be useful if we eventually make it so that we want our code to like make it so that we can't make an area that you can't get to. Like this could actually check that for us. We'll see. I mean, that's something we can do eventually. If you're making a tower defense, this would be the thing that you'd need. Is before you place a tile, you need to check that is a valid tile to place, because you want to do that thing where if you block off all the enemies coming, it'll actually allow the enemies to destroy the map and stuff like that. Anyway, that's what, you know, how tower defenses work if you've ever gone into that. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Let's continue and see what's breaking. So we'll select seeds, click it. Line 31 of tile. Ah, okay. That's where we're probably gonna have some issues. So we're placing this tile, but the tiles are different. And how are they different? So this creates the whole harvest counter and blah, blah, blah. And this kind of tile is really gonna be our farm tile. So you know what? I'm actually going to rename this as farm tile. Now, this is going to have a bunch of fallout that I'm probably going to screw up and not know until the next stream when we actually go back into this. But I am going to change this because we are going to have a different type of tile, which is our I'm going to call it forest tile. And we're probably going to do a builder tile. Like the forest tile and the builder tile, for all intents and purposes, are probably going to be identical. So for right now, we're gonna probably call it forest tile, and then if we have a need, we'll eventually go back and call it builder tile. But we're gonna cross our fingers and hope that that doesn't happen, and then we can reuse it within the builder. But as you'll notice, there's things like, ideally, we could have kept this forest map and used this forest map within our builder map. But I don't know yet. I don't know that we want to do that, because then we would overload this forest map with the ability to place tiles and stuff like this does. And that's not really what we want to use it for. So, like, we could have made a more generic map that just takes like any kind of tile and just does an update and tells you if something's been clicked or whatever, but then that would mean all the logic for altering the map had to live out here. So anyway, these are the things that as a programmer, as you get further into programming and realizing like what it's going to take to maintain this stuff, you start to think about this stuff. I don't have all the best answers for it, mainly because the best answers come from making the same type of game like 10 times. Like every time that you create it, you're going to find a reason why you should have done something differently, and by the 10th time you're going to be like, okay, now I've Now I've got it solid. I know how to make this type of game. Yeah. Anyway, so we got our farm tile. We have to look at. I'm gonna go search this code base because I have no idea where I imported this. So we're gonna want to go and change these to what they are. Oh, this one's not gonna be that one. This one's going to be builder tile, or no, as we said, forest tile. We're gonna try to get away with reusing it. We'll see. What else we got? Oh, the forest map is gonna have a forest tile. That's for sure. And then this one is gonna need the farm tile. Okay, there we go. Now we are ready to duplicate our farm tile and make our forest tile. Hopefully we didn't screw up our farm in the process. There we go. It's great. Now you definitely want to close stuff, because if you accidentally keep open your farm tile, you might accidentally start altering the wrong one and totally screw everything up. Okay, so we got our forest tile. Oh, that's interesting. Just thinking about the idea of, like, what if your forest tile can grow and change while you're looking at it? That'd be neat. But we're not going to worry about that right now. There is no harvest count. Here's a tile view or whatever. Let's get rid of this harvest count. We don't have growing or harvest count or anything. We just need to set the color. Oh, and this corresponds to the color. Wait, didn't we... Let's go look at our settings. Didn't we give them a color? We do. They have their own color. So we're going to go... Oh, the type is a name. Yeah. We're going to have to... Okay, let's look at this. Okay, so you make a new tile. Blah, 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 blah. Size. Create tile group. Ah, okay, that's right. We had this whole type, and if it's got a type, then it goes and does all that jazz and checks if it's got a type or whatever. If not, it doesn't. So when we do our type, let's see, it's down here. Type. Place tile. Given a type. Okay, so we're gonna have to track this all the way back. Well, we know that it comes down to in our map, you touch something, dispatch an event. This just tells you where. So in the builder, place tile, that's what we want. Place tile. It's gonna send the event, and here, bam, tile type. And it just passes the name. Let's not do that. Let's just pass the entire tile. That will be way more useful. And it does that to place tile. So then we go into place tile here, and we're gonna have tile. And well, we're gonna call this tile info because that's really what it is. It's not the actual tile. This is the actual tile, which is going to be a forest tile, by the way. So let's go ahead and change that. And as we create it, oh, here, we'll go here and go tile info. Bam, save that. Now that we've got a cool tile info over here, instead of a type is useless. It's not useless, but anyway. Tile info. Here, this is going to be the tile info's ID, because remember, our types are just in an array by number. Oh, we don't even need that. Psh, what am I doing? Okay, so, got our tile info, blah, 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 and then we just need this, which comes off of our tile info. Sorry, color. Cool. That'll be most of that. It also just occurred to me that wherever we call our tile, it's going to need to be changed in the old game. Oh, it's not in this, it's in the map. To a farm tile. Where is that? Bulb tile. There we go. Farm tile. Okay, let's see what's broken now. Builder map 22. Ah, here we go. Builder map. Should be a forest tile. Okay, before we mess around with this too much, I'm gonna go to the home, make sure that you can just talk, do things normally. I don't know what clicking anything there does. Don't worry about that. Ah, okay, here we go. Bulb map 42. Where did I screw it up? Here we go. This one should also be a farm tile. There we go. And let's go home. Garden, lemon, cool. Blueberries, cool. Now I want to try this. If I click avocado here, then I go back to the garden. Okay, good. They're not connected or anything. Which is totally fine. And let's make the shovel, and we can harvest and everything. This is just a little testing to make sure we didn't break anything. I think you should strive for never having bugs. If you have any bugs ever, which we'll see if this happens as we create this app. Oh yeah, there's no way to get back to the builder, so we're gonna refresh this. Anyway, you should never have bugs. If you have bugs, that's a problem. You should fix them, because you should not allow them to build up and then eventually get to the point that you just have tons of bugs to go and fix. It's basically like, if you do your diligence up front, you're not going to have the problem later where you've created all these bugs and you just have to slog through them, and they'll have less fallout. Like what happens often is you create one bug, which then causes a cascading effect which you don't recognize until much later. So if you got bugs, fix them early and get in the habit, and then you won't make bugs as often. And usually it'll be like, hey, there's a bug, you fix it, and now you're armed with that knowledge, and in subsequent attempts or whatever, you don't make the same errors. So it's good practice. Anyway, here we go. We have our builder. Look at this. We can totally build things. It's great. Our world is fantastic. So imagine it. We're going to be like, hey, look, here's trees. Da, 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 da. Here's another type of tree. Da, 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 da. Here's an enemy. Here's a river. Cool. Eventually those will actually correspond to art, and it'll be great, but they don't right now. So we're going to do a few things. First, I'm going to add the player, and then we're going to go back and add this function, like I said, in our... Oh, let's get rid of that. Let's look at our builder. We're actually going to get to this thing where we actually don't want there to be multiple players. So what we're going to do is, if you place a player and there's more than one, then we're going to get rid of the other player. So anyway, well, I'll just go through and do that instead of talking about it. Player 7. We're gonna need a new color. I think that is a color that we're not using. That's good. I'm gonna change the river color with this one, because then the rivers are blue, which is probably what we're gonna eventually want. I'm also gonna take this green color of this other enemy, put that on one of the trees. That makes more sense. It actually looks like this other green is on the player. Let's take that and put it on the other tree. Swap that with the player. It's just going to help us identify stuff better. Great. The rivers are blue. Enemies are kind of orange and stuff. And player is this orange. Tree is this. Seeds are red. Great. Yeah, we might mess with those colors again in the future, but we're not going to worry about it right now. Right now, what I think I'm actually going to do is I'm thinking I want to give us the ability to save and load this, but let me check something. In order to save and load, I have a file, again relying on old code. I have a file for saving. Okay, cool, I have it. So why don't we go ahead and do this. I'm going to teach you how to save and load, which is going to be super useful in the future. You are going to love this and reuse it all the time. Now the thing I need to think about though is that saving and loading, we're going to need a save button, we're going to need a load button. So I'm going to go add those as tools, but I think what we may do next after I add those is make this, we're going to save so that it saves out whatever we've built here. And we're going to load. Oh, that's something to think about. Huh. Okay, cool. Yeah, we're going to save, we're going to load, and then I'm going to take a look at making this panel scrollable so that we can have more items to choose from. And I'm just thinking about that, like maybe we'll add like arrow buttons. Scroll bars can be a pain in the ass. So anyway, let's move on. Like we're gonna save out this wonderful, beautiful map. And we're gonna load other wonderful, beautiful maps. So in order to do that, we are going to create one of our most useful library files, which is our saving container, which I'm going to add an underscore to stay consistent. And here we go. We are going to require JSON. JSON is a library for JSON code, which looks like it's very similar to how objects are created in Lua. JSON actually should look like this. It kind of depends. But anyway, you're able to define these objects with their names and everything, etc., etc. And it's very similar to the thing that you built. If we go look, say here, you know, this is a very similar structure, and it's referenced in the same way. And so this library is going to allow us to take these Lua objects, convert them into JSON, which is going to look something like this. I don't remember if it's going to have the equal sign or the colon. It kind of depends, but we'll take a look at it. And it's going to have you generate this and then load that. And when you load it, it's going to convert it back into Lua. So it's going to be great. So of course we are going to need a save function, which we will do that so we can see it. And I actually wonder, so I got this code from somewhere. So I'm trying to find it, just so that I can give credit where credit is due. It might be this. Saving and loading Lua tables with JSON. Blah, 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 blah. JSON, required JSON. Ooh, interesting. Oh, interesting. So somebody made a already made like a Lua repository for saving and loading tables. That is not what I used. Trying to remember where this came from. Maybe I did look for it in Corona. This is starting to look similar. Yeah, see, so I used like one of the, I think I used one of the basis of these their libraries. But anyway, it's all pretty much the same. You can look up this kind of like their docs on reading and writing files, or you can just use the code that I have, and you'll see what it does, and I'll explain it. So I'm trying to remember here. I've got two different versions. Okay, here we go. Let me just start pulling this in, and then I will explain what it does. So here's our save. And let's get our load in here. The basics of our loading. And then I have another version of loading. And there's a reason for it, which I don't remember just yet, but we'll go through that. Okay, so what do we need? We also need the default game data, so that's what I'm going to do. We're going to make a default game data. So the reason for this is that when you first start, there will be no game data. Oh, that's right. So this is what it was. Is initially I made this just to save and load game data, which is to say, like, let's say that you are playing a game and there's a high score and you have your inventory, etc., etc. Like in this game, you're gonna have an inventory. Well, when you start out, we want to make it so that you don't have anything in your inventory. So we have this default game data where you'd have like, oh look, here's your strawberries, and you have none, and you have cherries, none, etc. And this would set it for the beginning so that you have that we save it when you first start up, and that's like the basis of the file, the saved file of all your player information. And then when you load, it loads just, as you can see, it just loads from that that file of that basic data. Sorry, I'm like thinking about too many things at once. I actually want to load up this other project so I can see the implementation. Because we create a saving container, blah, 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 blah. Yes, okay, here we go. So let's take a look at this. Let's just go through this line by line. So you've got your default code, right? Or game data. There it is. What's going to happen first is over here in map, or not map, main. When we start up, we're going to load your saving container. And we're going to load your information. Like, it's super important that one of the first things we do is load all that data, right? Well, saving container when you load, it's going to go for that path to the game data. This has it in your documents directory. There's a couple different directories. You're going to want to use documents directory, but you should look into Corona for the different directory types and what they do. This opens a file at the path and returns nil if no file is found. So it's FH for file handler, and this means that like we're opening a connection to a file on our machine, and if it fails, this is going to be nil, I believe, and then reason is going to tell us why it failed, which might be any number of things. It could be that it can't find the file. It could be that it doesn't have permission to open the file. It gets complicated, but it'll give us a reason. And then this contents is what we are going to use to get the information. Okay, so if file handler, so this means it's not nil, it exists. It worked to connect to our file. We're going to read all contents of the file into a string. So that's what this code does. This is a library function. You don't have to worry about this. Just know that that's what it does. This is probably a Lua thing that you can look up as to what exactly it means, because there's different forms of reading a file. And then you're going to parse data here. We're not actually going to parse data here. We're going to parse it elsewhere, which is actually right here. But here's the thing. I'll tell you the reason we're not going to parse it here. Because what we want to do is create it if it doesn't exist. So here's the thing. So yeah, this would normally print the reason it failed and display it in the terminal. We actually don't care. What we're going to do is say, look, if the reason is no such file or directory, so it couldn't find the file or directory to the file, then what we're going to do is we're going to encode the game data, which this game data, of course, is our default game data. And then we are going to create a file handler, because that file never worked, and we're going to open it to write it. So here we were trying to open it to read it, and that failed. Here we're going to open it to write it. Now, when we go ahead and write it, we're going to write the contents of this encoded data. And that's great. We successfully loaded the data, we encoded it here, and then we put in the contents, and then we saved it. We wrote it out to the file, and now here we're going to close the file handler. So what this did is this said, like, hey, if it succeeded here, this file handler worked. We set the contents to whatever was in the file, and then here we go ahead and we close that. If it failed here, we create a different file handler, and we write the contents to the file, and then we close it. Then we decode the contents here. So we didn't parse it up here because what happened is this is the success case where we got the stuff from the file. Now we still have to go back and parse it by decoding it, the JSON. But we want to do that here anyway, where we encoded it and then we're actually going to decode it. So technically we could put this up here, and nothing really changes because this game data is already in the game data, so if we didn't decode it, then it wouldn't matter. However, this just keeps it consistent. So like if we were actually going to do anything where we were going to mess with the data, like we would probably want to do it here anyway. So I hope that all makes sense. It's a little complicated. You're not really going to have to worry about it. This save load basically does the, hey look, we're going to save and load specifically to game data. This is where I keep all the data pertaining to this game, like high scores and all that stuff. But what we are actually going to want, so we're going to want to load and save files to a different location. And so what's funny is the reason there's only a load file here is because what this does is when you save out your map, we're going to want to load that map file. However, we're not gonna ever like save file by name. What I actually did when I've done my previous maps is alter this save to just save in a specific place. What we're gonna actually do is add a save file, and all that's really gonna do. And actually, does this call? This doesn't call load, does it? That's interesting. Oh yeah, because this is not. This is a special thing where, like, let's take a look at this real quick. So you're given a file name. If the directory, if you didn't pass some specific type of directory, we're going to go look for it in the documents directory. That's a default, which is fine. Then we're going to get the path based on the file name in the directory. And then this just tells us if we failed or not. We're going to start out by saying no, we haven't failed. We're going to do the same thing we did above. We're going to open it for reading. Get the contents. Hey, it's succeeded. Here we go. Here's our contents. We're actually going to parse data. But again, we're going to delay that to here. Let's just delete that real quick. Here, it failed for some reason. But in this case, like whereas this one, when it failed, we wanted to just create the file anyway, because that file is mandatory in our thing. In this one, we don't want to do that. We just want to tell you that, hey, we failed to load that file. So we close the file handler, and then if we failed, we're going to pass back an object that says, hey, we failed. Otherwise, we're going to decode the contents and pass them back. So we're going to use this for making our maps, but we're also going to create a save file to save from our maps. And then we're going to get into tricky stuff that allows us to actually name these files and search these files. I think it's interesting. We're going to take a little detour real quick. Let's see if we can actually, if Corona has a load file that allows you to do something like select. Oh, that's for images. We don't want to do that. I wonder. Project files. No, that's not what we want to do. Yeah, so when you are on any browser, right? Like, let's say we were going to do this, save page as, right? You get this dialog that allows you to select the name, select a location, and then on Macs you can even give it a tag. You can also check a format or something. You don't have the same thing on Corona. So what I'm curious about is if they've got something like that. Yeah, see, like selecting a file, like you will just want to select a music file or something. File open dialog. Let's go take a look at that. That's annoying. Creating a C++ version behind the scenes so that works on Windows. Yeah, this looks like they are writing C++ code. Let's see something. Yeah. Okay. So they have like libraries that people are working on behind the scenes to actually get these dialogues. These are the kind of things that annoy me when you don't have this ability. Okay, this is what I want to find out. Does Lua have a thing that'll tell you what files are in a directory? Da, 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 da. Install LFS. What is LFS? Ah, so it looks like I have to do like a scan of the directory. This is interesting. Yeah, see, so the thing is that these things are not going to work in Corona. There are other tools. It sounds like Lua doesn't have this built in automatically. Yeah, see, star for Windows. So we don't want to worry about that. So we're not going to have an easy mechanism for keeping track of all of our map files. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to save them to game data so that we know where they are. So we are going to want to save file. We're going to do the same thing here. File name, directory. Sorry for the little detour, but you know, this is how you program, and that's an important part of these videos, is getting to know how you solve problems, not just you know, blindly writing code. So this is going to do the same thing, where we're going to do this directory, blah blah blah. I don't want to bring that over to our save file. We're not going to mess with game data. We're not going to be encoding. We're going to actually, so let's go like this. Oh yeah, let's put our data here. We're going to encode our data. Call it encoded data. That's probably a good thing to call it. And the path for file. File name, oops, directory, opens a file at path, returns nil if no file found. Does it return nil? We're just saving a file. Oh, I guess it would. Some weird situation. Okay, not gonna worry about that. Yeah, if it exists, we're gonna put our encoded data in it and then close it. Great. So that looks like we're pretty good there. Now we're just gonna have to actually use it. Okay, so remember what I said. If this load fails to load, and it's because there's no such file or directory, it's going to go create it, and it's going to encode it and write it, close it, which means that if we go look at our project sandbox, that file should exist. It should be in our documents. Hey, there it is. And lo and behold, it's got exactly the encoded data that we thought. I'll see no equal sign, and the keys have quotes around them, which I forgot, but whatever. Anyway, there it is, our strawberries and cherries. Eventually we're going to go change this to actually have like useful information, and we're going to encode and decode like real data, but we're not going to do that right now. What we're going to do right now is we're going to look at our map, and we're going to make save and load names for our map. So let's go check that out. I have an idea. So first, let's go here. This is what we want in here. And actually, we're gonna get rid of this, so we make it like this. A little more civilized. Map names. There's nothing in there. That's great. Now, you'll notice if we go look at our sandbox file, which actually I'm going to set these to open with Sublime because that's really annoying. Look, it's the same thing. Why is it the same thing? Well, because this time it loaded the file. It didn't need to recreate it, so it's not going to load that default data. It's going to have what it had. Now, what we can do is just delete this. We do that, refresh, boom, it's back. What is it back? It's back as map names with an empty array. Perfect. That's what we want. Okay, so let's go check this out. Builder settings. Where is it? Builder. Haha. Okay, so got a map. Okay. Here we go. First, we're going to give the map a name. And then we're going to add tools to it. I think, if I can remember. Oh, yeah, that's in our UI. Oh, no, not that UI. On our builder UI. Okay, we're going to add 2 tools. Interesting. I wonder if there's something special you want to do with this. I don't know yet. Self.navigation. Oh, that's right. It's a function that happens when you click this, blah, 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 blah. Okay, whatever. We're going to make this save view. And we're going to make this tools 2, and this one's tools 3. And this one's going to be our load view. And bam, there we go. Save load view. We want to get rid of those also. Oh yeah, these are all just added to tools. So we don't have to worry. We're already like getting rid of them and stuff as necessary. And oh yeah, let's go look at the tools. There's something different about tools. Is what we want is we didn't want. Okay, we've got a width, height, shovel. Where did shovel come from? Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is just a tile name. Okay, cool. It's weird that we did it that way. So let's go look at what is navigation. Navigation is this. Why would we put navigation here? Describe it there and pass it in. While the other tools, saving and loading, we're doing here. This does not make a whole lot of sense. Yeah, maybe we want to change that later, but I'm not going to worry about it just now. That's a little sloppy code, but we'll worry about it in the future. let's change these up a little bit so that they're not all the same color. Cool. Ta-da. Okay, what we want these to do is to save and load, which I think, what were we doing before? Before, we were calling shovel. Oh wait, that's not a function that we're calling. That is just the object. Oh, duh. Okay, yeah. So these need to. I went down the same path of thinking that this is the name of the function. It's not the name of the function. It's just the description of the tile that we are passing along so we can draw the store item. So we save that. That is going to do this. So, here we go. Select tool. So we have home. Here we go. Okay, so now we have this. What the heck is it? I think it's else if. Else if? Let's see if that's right. Can never remember. Save and load. Bam. Okay, there we go. So what we're gonna do is go if self.map map name. So this is gonna say like, hey, if your map name is nil, then we need to do something. We need to get that map name. And this is going to just print trying to load. And this is going to print getting map name. Bam. Okay, cool. Here we go. We got load. Okay, yeah, that's right. We need to move everything down a bit. And I need to get rid of garbage that is clogging up our view. Okay, so in the UI, don't have a shovel, get rid of that. And this needs to have times 3, because there's 3 items there. And these guys need to have, what is it? Oh, let's go see, what was it? Plus item height. Sorry, Shift Z, there we go. We're gonna add item height times 2. There we go. Save it, there we go. Ha, home, save, load, and then all of our little tiles. See, I told you, we're really gonna need to be able to scroll this. Anyway, click save. Hey, it's getting the map name. If I click load, it's trying to load. Okay, so what we want is basically a little pop-up that asks for the name. So we're going to do this. Hopefully we can get through all this. It's our little file name pop-up. Okay, let's just take our basic whatever, we'll use our UI as a basis for this. It does not need anything special. We're gonna call this bulb file name pop-up, and we're gonna go width, height. We're going to use those to find the X and Y. Interesting. For right now, we're not going to go too fancy with this. We're going to just put it at 100, 100. I mean, this is really just a tool, and this is one of those things where, like, I could spend a lot of time making this look really fancy, putting it in the right place, like centering it on the window, but we really don't need any of that. All we need is to make a UI that allows us to enter in a file name. And to that end, we're actually going to go look at these builder store items, because they have a very simple interface right here, right? Like, so they have an item, and then they have the name, and that's all they have. That's exactly what we want. We're gonna put that here. The width and height I put in here as a variable. Actually, let's just get rid of those too. They're here as a variable so that we can, if it's not the right size, we can go back and change it until we're happy with it. But in the meantime, it'll be fine. So here we go. Self width, height. The color is just going to be white. I think we can do stroke color too. Let's give it a black outline. Don't want to get too fancy, just want to be able to see it on the screen. And blah blah blah, set its item to XY, great. Name view. This is going to be interesting because we need to go get the text input. This is not going to actually function first, but we're not going to worry about that just yet. Oh, we also want a label. Okay, cool. So we're going to need that as well. We're also going to need all these things. So we're going to go name equals enter name. So we can use this. Label equals enter name. There we go. Label. And that's it. Cool. Oh yeah, so we want these. Item view, nil, name view, nil, and label view equals nil. Cool, there we go. Alrighty there. Okay, so this is our item view, which is our background. Our name view is our text. We're actually gonna make 2 of these bad boys, but first we're going to give it name. Yeah, we're gonna leave X and Y 0. Width is the width of this whole thing. Height is gonna be 30. System font, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we create this, set it to X and Y of this whole thing. Let's just go +10, +10. And then, hey, there we go. Got our name view. Now, in addition to that name view, we're going to have a label view, which is actually going to appear above it. This label. Everything about it's going to be the same. Actually, everything about it is going to be exactly the same. We're actually going to go change this. So we want to take the Y, and we want to add 50, because we want it to appear below this, which is at 30 and 10. Okay, and all of this needs to become, so here, we're gonna select this, go replace, make sure we are just replacing in the selection. I'm gonna change name view into label view, place all of them, great. Now go down here, add a label view. Great. Down here in the remove self, we're gonna want that stuff. We don't have tools or items, so let's get rid of that. Let's have a name view, a label view, and an item view. We have no selecting tools, we have no placing tiles. We're gonna leave the event stuff because we're probably gonna want an event. And we're probably gonna have to add buttons and stuff. For right now, we're just gonna allow it to, when you click the background, maybe that is what'll save it. Actually, I'm just gonna comment that out for right now. Let's see what we've got with just this. Okay, cool. So let's go into our builder. We are going to add this file name. Oh, file name pop up. Sorry, I need to see something on my other windows. Okay, cool. Let's see what we've got here. Okay, so we've got our file pop-up. Let's put our file pop-up here. Okay. Select tool, save. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do self clear file pop-up. It's gonna be a handy dandy little function. It's called, here we go, bulb builder. We're gonna clear the file. I think we can get rid of that function, by the way. Okay, yeah, this is just gonna do if self.file pop-up, then self.file pop-up, remove self.file pop-up equals nil, and hey, I just realized that we did not set these back to nil, which we should be doing. So, you know, if you notice something wrong in your code, you should probably fix it. But as a forewarning, make sure you know it's wrong and it's not something that you think is wrong and then you're fixing it and then screwing up. Okay, so this is going to clear the pop-up. Same as with loading, it's going to clear the pop-up. And then it's going to create one of those guys. So it's going to go self.file pop-up equals, let's go get the name of this bad boy, bulb name file pop-up. And actually, we're going to go like this and put label here, because then we could do this. Watch. So we create this file with a name, which is enter save name, file pop-up, create. We need access to the group. We'll get that in just a second. And then we're gonna put this here. And this way, if you're saving or loading, you can tell what's happening. I'll tell you what the name is. And then group, we're actually going to need to keep access to this. So this is something that I don't like. Eventually, if I get a better way of doing this, I will. Actually, what I like to do usually is create a group in here for this class and then add everything to that group so that we don't have to keep a reference to the group outside. We just keep reference to the group that we have inside and everything gets added to that. Actually, you know what? We're going to do that. We're going to just make this new group. And we're going to do this. We're going to pass them this full display group. And at the end, we're going to go full display group. Oh, whoops. We're going to go group, insert self display. See, this way you don't have to keep a reference to that group that was passed in. You can just control the reference for the one that we've created here. And then when you remove yourself, after you've done all that stuff, you go ahead and remove this guy's display group, which actually, get rid of that so that I can just duplicate. Paste. Like to copy and paste. It's a great way to make sure you don't make errors. Or if you make errors, you make them consistently. Okay, cool. So that seems about right. Let's see what we broke. File name pop-up line 64. What have we got there? Insert self item view group. Is group not a group? No, it's not, because this should be self dot full display group. I should come up with a better name than full display group, but I'm not gonna worry about it. Hey, there we go. Save name, enter save name, load. Oh no. Line 83. Huh. Oh, file pop-up remove self. Did we fail something in that? Oh, yes we did. We did not name these correctly. See, told you I would forget that. Always forget to rename all the classes. Save, load, there we go. See, it deletes the old one and creates a new one with the other name. That's great. Now we just need to add file input to actually, or text input to actually input the text of the name, which we are going to do right now. I just have to find out what that looks like. Okay. Chrome SDK text input. Here we go. Yeah, see, they only do it as native, which is a little bit worrying to me. Input device status. Interesting. I wonder what that's for. Input access. IO input. Ooh. Input lines open. Wonder if those would be useful to us. Anyway, just looking at some of this input. It's always good to see what stuff there is. User input. How can you... Okay, text field. It's a native text field. Text box. Native scroll. Yeah, see, I think they only have native, which I'm wondering if that works. Huh. Interesting. Input file. Fascinating. Okay. Yeah, so they just have native text fields, which I hope they have something that works in the simulator, because that's going to be really freaking annoying if they don't have something in the simulator. Because it means that all of this was kind of worthless, which is lame. Let's find out. Native new text field. And create a native new text field. Center with height, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so in our pop-up, I'm just gonna duplicate this so we are not messing with it. And then I am going to go comment it all out. So we can go through and put in a new text field. Okay, so native, new text field. Center X, Y, width, height. Okay. That's annoying. Are we not able to move it? Let's just try. I mean, I can find it real quick. It's just these are going to be like width divided by 2, height divided by 2. But I'm not going to worry about that just yet. Whoops. We're going to put this here. Going to get rid of this. Actually, get rid of this whole thing. And the fill color doesn't matter. None of this stuff probably matters. Let's just save it. See what happens. Oh no, attempt to index a nil value. I wonder if I have to include anything for native. Native. Sorry, I'm just reading this stuff. Trying to find out. It can be inserted into the groups. Where is the information? Okay, let's see. Yeah, it still has a line. I guess it doesn't have X and Y. Oh, never mind. Interesting. Okay. See if we can find a quick example. It's just such a pain when you don't have like a nice example of what this code is supposed to look like. Just trying to find out if we have to like include an extra library or something for native code. Like this looks all really simple and similar. All right, let's go look up our error code. Index and nil value. Do we have width, self-width? Ah, here we go. That's probably the dumb problem, is just that height is not a thing. Ah, okay, cool. So there's no set fill color. Get rid of that. Let's see what else there isn't. Oh, okay, cool. So it's there. We expect. Whoa, that's huge. Huh. Oh, because we did self width and height. Why are we doing self width and height? That's silly. There should be 30. And it must be that the text fills space that you got. It does fill the space that you've got. Okay, cool. All right, we're gonna make this easy on ourselves, so we can do this. Oh yes, and width, it's gonna be minus 20, because we're doing plus 10 on this side. And then we're gonna make this label, oh, I guess stroke color didn't work, unless you have to like set the stroke somehow. Oh well, don't care. We're just gonna make this a black dialog with white text for the label, so that we can then see the white box where we put in the name. Great, perfect. And then we'll just have a save name and a load. Cool. I'm not gonna worry about user error right now. there's going to be some things that we have to do to like sanitize the name. In case you go in here and be like, oh, I'm going to call this blah 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 .png or .mov or something, or MP3. You don't want that. We're going to save it as a text file, but we're going to ignore that, and we're just going to act like the user knows what they're doing, and we're just going to take the name. So we also need a save button, so we're going to go ahead and add that. I think Corona has a button. Let's try to use their simple widget button. Oh man, their button is so overly complicated. We're just going to use our button. I'm just going to steal it from our home. Where is this? It's in our home UI? No, living room. That's right. We have our living room. We have our button. Here's our skip button. We're just going to take that guy. We're going to use a very simplified skip button. Oh, look, their text worked, so we can get rid of this garbage code. And now we're going to go add a button. We're going to make two buttons, cancel and save. Now, obviously, if you were actually going to do any of this, you would want to have like a legit like text on them and have it make sense, but this is just for our purposes. So is canceling 1L or 2? I don't know. We'll go with 1. So we're going to make an accept button. Like, we're going to make simple buttons that work for us because this is just our build tool. It does not have to be pretty. It just needs to function. So that's actually another thing too. I'm going to make this almost, let's take a look at it. Yeah, we're going to make this almost twice as big. Or actually twice as big. Yeah. That'll be good. We're going to make this height 50. That'll be great. Cool. I'm hoping those, it'll be great to know if those actually work to delete it. We'll find out soon when we actually try to delete it. Here's our accept, cancel button, blah, blah, blah. We want to remove them. Remember to do your due diligence in cleaning up after yourself. Okay. All right, so this is 25. We're going to give it the y of self.y plus self.height minus 50, which is the entire size of the circle, minus 10 to give a buffer for the outside. There we go. Oh, that's almost it. Self.y plus self. Oh, not height, width. And this should be x. Duh. Wait a minute. That's not what we wanted? That's exactly what we wanted. We want to do the same for this. X width. Great. And our cancel button we're going to make red. And we're going to put it in a similar place. We are just going to make this 100. Whoa, not 1,000. 100 and make this 20 because we want 2 places worth of buttons. I don't know if that makes sense to you. Oh, okay. Oh, we would need to make sure that we copy and paste correctly. Bam, there we go. Okay, there we go. Green light, red light, green light, red light. Okay, we're gonna want to actually want to see what this looks like. I want to spread them out a bit more. I don't want to accidentally hit one when I mean to hit the other. There we go. Nice and separate. Then you put stuff in, red light, green light. Okay, so now we just have to add our event listeners. Yeah, so we were gonna want to do the touch listener. We're gonna go like this: self.accept, self.cancel. I don't think that's exactly how we want to do it. We're gonna have to add functions here for this. Self.accept equals. Now this function. I'm trying to remember how this works. I think we can do this. It's actually gonna have an event. And then we're gonna call. Okay, yeah, we're gonna do this. We're gonna make this so that we can actually call accept with access to the outer function. We're gonna see if this works. The accept button. We'll find out real quick. If you have any questions as to why this is what it is, please ask. Oh yeah, we don't need name up here because we're not using that. We just want to do self dot name view. Okay, self.name view. Oh, dot text, I assume. We'll find out if that works. Oh, actually, you know what? We're gonna first put self.label. This will tell us if our code even worked. Oh, crud. Add event listener. What failed? Oh, you know what? Let's go like this. Accept. Local. Accept. We're gonna need one of those too. If we don't have a cancel, it's not going to let us do anything. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to comment this out. There we go. Problem solved. Okay, accept. Bam, accepting. Huh. It somehow managed to call. Does this, okay, we're gonna just put A. There we go. This might be keyword accepting, accepting, accepting. Huh. This is not working. I'm gonna have to remember how this works. But we're running out of time. Okay, so I am going to comment this out. This is our exercise for our next session. We've got our so we've got our saving and loading dialogues popping up, and you can put in whatever name you want. And now we're actually gonna have to make them work. That next step is gonna require adding event listeners on the buttons that then save them to the file. We've got all the bases for that ready, but we are going to continue with that next week. So I hope you have a great week. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe, like it, etc., share it, get the word out. Follow me on Twitter, my handle's right there, or go to the website and check out stuff. Yeah, and that's it. Have a great week. And oh yeah, and please contact me on YouTube or Twitter or whatever if you have questions, and just feel free to ask.